The first time I met Emma Frost, I found her covered in bruises, trembling and curled up in the corner against the wall. I can give you everything. Can you save me? I threw my cigarette to the ground. Do I look like someone who plays hero? She left then, her face full of disappointment. The next few days, she came looking for me every single day, beaten worse and worse each time. Her face so swollen I couldn't recognize her original features. Later, to save her, I really did give her everything I had. The first time I laid eyes on Emma Frost, I was disgusted. She was already in her teens but stick-thin like a rail. Malnourished looking, like a gust of wind could knock her over. What bothered me most was how timid and weak she was. Constantly bullied by the mean girls at school. All she did was huddle in the corner shaking. Never even trying to fight back. I can give you everything. Can you save me? The tiny girl's tears streamed down her face, like a frightened fawn. The weird thing was, she was terrified of those mean girls at school, girls a whole head shorter than me. But she wasn't afraid of me, a guy with a cigarette hanging from his mouth on a motorcycle. I let out a mocking laugh. I don't play hero. Without waiting for her to respond, I revved the engine and took off. I was a thug, 16 and too young for legal work. So I had no real job. Spent my days riding my motorcycle through every corner of this small town. Sometimes I'd step in when I saw injustice, throw some punches and run, barely scraping by on a meager allowance. That's why I didn't play hero. Playing hero required financial stability. I could barely take care of myself. How could I look after anyone else? But Emma Frost was persistent. The next day she showed up again. I was halfway through my cigarette when I suddenly saw her, and nearly jumped. Compared to yesterday, her injuries were worse. Yesterday her face only had a slap mark. Now her eye was swollen too. She said nothing, just followed me with her disheveled hair, wearing a beat-up old backpack, silent as a ghost. I didn't bother acknowledging her. I mean, a school fight. Was I really supposed to storm into the school and beat up a bunch of girls? She could obviously just talk to a teacher. I didn't understand why she kept clinging to me. Day 3, she showed up right on schedule. Strange thing was, I had no set routine. But no matter where I went, I'd always run into her. Every time Emma Frost appeared, I was shocked all over again. I couldn't understand. Was the school really that indifferent to its students? Were the teachers blind? Couldn't they see she was being bullied? She'd been beaten so badly she was unrecognizable. And where were her parents? A young girl like this and her parents didn't care? On day 4 before I left, I kindly pointed to the police station on the corner, reminding her that going to the cops would be better than coming to me. Her face was severely swollen. The corners of her mouth split open. Hearing me, she quietly looked up. It won't help. If the cops can't help you, then I definitely can't either. With that thought, I revved up and rode off again. Day 5 I wandered the streets all day. Smoked half a pack with some buddies. All day long, no sign of Emma Frost anywhere. I figured she'd finally gone to the police or talked to a teacher. Gotten things sorted out, so she'd given up following me. In my heart, I felt a quiet disappointment. It had been so long since I'd felt needed by anyone. No one cared. No one worried. No one needed me. If I died someday, probably no one would even ask. Around 10 at night, I rode my bike, ready to head home and sleep, passing through the rundown houses in the slums of the small town. I ran into Emma Frost again. She was kneeling by the road vomiting, both hands clutching her stomach in agony, retching violently, before collapsing into the pile of sand by the roadside in pain. Like an abandoned stray dog, as if hypnotized, I walked over and brought her home. My place was tiny. 1 bedroom and a living room, maybe 700 or 800 square feet total. The place was bare bones, stuck in the style of decades ago. And living alone meant it didn't even feel lived in. Emma Frost was the first person I'd ever brought home. She lay on the sofa, curled into a ball, and the moment she opened her mouth, blood trickled from the corner, soaking into the old sofa cushion. Panicked, I helped her up, wanting to take her to the small clinic in town. But she kept shaking her head. Half a day later she finally said, "I'm used to it." I'll be fine eventually. That night Emma Frost cried in her sleep. In the middle of the night she was trapped in nightmares, unable to wake. Later that night she spiked a high fever. Her swollen face burned bright red. Her whole body like a furnace. I was terrified she'd die in my house. So I kept wiping her down with a towel to bring down her fever. Worked through till dawn. Before her fever finally broke. Her breathing returning to normal. The next morning when I opened my eyes, I saw Emma Frost bolt upright on the sofa, staring at the blood-stained cushion. Tears welling up ready to fall. It was just a bloodstain. But she acted like she'd committed some terrible crime. Already sentencing herself to death. Before anyone could pass judgment. It's fine, just wash it. I yawned and stood up. Not caring about some bloodstain. I'd seen worse back in my fighting days. Way more gruesome than this. But what annoyed me now was that taking care of her last night meant I had to curl up and sleep on the sofa all night. And now my whole body ached, back and shoulders killing me. Seeing me stand, somehow triggering some sensitive nerve in Emma Frost. She suddenly jumped to the floor. Didn't even put her shoes on. Quickly rolled the sofa cushion up. And clutched it tight, looking around for a faucet. I turned to look at her. She bowed her head, face full of apology. I'm sorry. You saved me. And I ruined your things. I'll wash it clean for you. Emma Frost was so sensitive. The smallest thing made her jumpy as a startled bird. When she spoke, she was cautious about every word. As if the next moment I'd grab a stick and beat her. The feeling was strange, making even me, someone with usually steady nerves, feel sad. The corners of her eyes grew redder. I casually pointed to the bathroom. Soon the sound of rushing water came from inside. This house, thanks to Emma Frost, finally felt lived in. School bullying was nothing new anywhere. Especially in a poor little town like this. Parents working far away. Kids lacking supervision. Plenty of bullies did it. Just out of pure boredom. And the weak ones, because they were timid or had no one backing them up, would continuously get bullied and humiliated by the stronger ones in every way possible. And over time it would escalate. I woke up late in the afternoon. The house filled with the aroma of cooking. Truth was, I rarely cooked at home. Partly because I wasn't good at it. Partly because I was lazy. Things I could half-ass. I usually didn't bother putting effort into. Emma Frost had some real skills. Just a simple tofu soup. But she made it delicious, perfect in color, aroma, and taste. I drank 2 bowls, then made an excuse about buying medicine and left the house. After starting the bike, I unconsciously turned to look back. Emma Frost stood by the window watching me. Her figure so small and thin. It couldn't even cover half the window. She had no expression on her face. But the way I saw it, she looked abandoned. I went to Jefferson Middle School where she studied. Waited until school let out. And cornered those mean girls. Who'd been bullying her outside the school gate 5 days ago. The mean girls looked flustered when they saw me. Trembling as they asked what I wanted. I threw a roll of plastic wrap on the ground. The mean girls immediately went pale with fear. If you ever bully Emma Frost again, you'll be wrapping yourselves in that from one end of the street to the other. Got it? The mean girls shook, picked up the plastic wrap and ran off quickly. Terrified I'd actually make them wrap themselves all the way down the street. The day I met Emma Frost, she'd been stripped naked by those mean girls. Wrapped in plastic wrap and thrown outside the school. A crowd had gathered around watching. That was the first time I realized. Some girls could be crueler than any man. When guys pursue satisfaction, and it doesn't work out, they throw punches. Beat someone and it's done. But girls were different. When they cut someone, they aimed for the heart. Compared to savage beatings, they wanted to destroy their victim's reputation more. Emma Frost hadn't even healed from her wounds before rushing back to school. She said she had to study hard. That someday she'd definitely leave this small town. I smiled bitterly. How heartless. I'd just helped her and she was already planning to leave. But thinking about it, she wasn't wrong. This small town was backward and suffocating. Young people here all rigid and conservative. Who wouldn't want to get out? The mean girl situation was handled. Emma Frost's life returned to normal. I thought she wouldn't show up anymore. But that night around 10 when I got home, before I'd even stepped into the yard, I saw Emma Frost asleep. On the chair. Something in my chest suddenly softened. I'd thought she wouldn't come anymore. So I'd locked the door when I left that morning. "You're back?" The motorcycle noise woke Emma Frost. Her eyes lit up with joy. Not a single complaint about the wait, only happiness in her eyes. I didn't understand what she was so happy about. I knew I wasn't a good person. What kind of good person drops out to become a thug? If she wanted to study hard and leave this small town, she should stay far away from me. I coldly unlocked the door, stepped inside only to realize she was still standing outside, not daring to come in. The joy from earlier was gone, replaced by a face full of tension. Her small hands clenched tight. She must be afraid of me too, right? If she was scared of me, she shouldn't keep coming around. The moonlight was cold. The parasol tree in the yard rustled, its dappled shadows falling behind Emma Frost, not illuminating her beauty, but highlighting her swollen face. "I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid you won't be happy to see me." I turned back to the door, hand braced against the frame looking down at her. "So what do you want from me this time?" Emma Frost looked up, meeting my eyes with complete sincerity. "Can I stay here? I can cook and clean for you. Anything you need." In that instant, all the sounds around us seemed to fall silent. I stared at Emma Frost. She kept emphasizing, "anything you need." But what did she have? Skinny as a stick. A poor student with nothing. Just eyes like a frightened fawn. I wanted to laugh mockingly. Wanted to throw some sarcasm her way. But seeing the corners of her eyes growing redder, I couldn't say anything cruel. I lost control, softly said, "Okay. Every time I remember this moment, I'm grateful," I said, "Okay." Instead of coldly pushing her into the abyss again. Emma Frost's arrival changed my life. 3 meals a day, she cooked simple but delicious food. No matter how late, she'd sit under the lamp waiting for me. No matter how late it got. Emma Frost was so well behaved. So well behaved it was almost abnormal. I'd met plenty of girls outside school. They were confident and lively, chattering away noisily and annoyingly, radiating this energy, an energy unique to people this age. But Emma Frost just buried herself in work. Or homework. So quiet it was like she wasn't even there. She seemed to be deliberately hiding her presence. Like weak creatures, afraid of being devoured. So they deliberately lowered their existence. The girl next door was around Emma Frost's age. And a long time ago. I'd heard that girl crying softly, because she'd gotten a splinter in her hand. Tears streaming down. When her mom coaxed her, she only cried harder. Looking at Emma Frost, she was too quiet. Her crying was silent. The night I found her by the road, she'd had a raging fever. While she slept, I pried her mouth open to look, finding raw, bloody tissue inside, as if a fist had punched her face, and her teeth had bitten through. On her neck, one bruise. Then another. On her gray-white uniform were faint footprints. Someone had kicked her in the stomach. That's why she'd been kneeling by the road vomiting. But even so, she hadn't cried out once in pain. Just left herself lying by the road waiting to die. Neither of us mentioned that night. Emma Frost didn't want to talk about it. And I had no interest in poking at someone's wounds. At least those mean girls never dared bully her again after that. Life went on like this for a month. One warm weekend, I thought I'd walked into the wrong house. The girl with a face that had healed back to its natural beauty sat quietly in the sunlight doing homework, face serious and focused on her desk, writing each character stroke by stroke. That's when I realized I had no idea what Emma Frost really looked like. It was as if from the first day I met her, she'd already been beaten. I'd assumed she was an ugly girl. Turned out without injuries, she was this beautiful. Our peaceful life was shattered after 2 months. I came home late, only to discover the glass door smashed by someone. The door kicked in, tables and chairs overturned everywhere. Emma Frost nowhere to be found. For a moment the house was eerily silent. Even the occasional drip from the kitchen faucet was crystal clear. Without bothering to clean up, I bolted straight for my motorcycle. In that moment, my mind held only Emma Frost. The neighbor from next door poked his head over the wall, his eyes full of apology. My mom said, "This afternoon a married couple smashed your glass door, dragged that little girl away. They were screaming and cursing viciously." My mom was home alone and didn't dare go out. I grunted a response, revved the motorcycle and tore out of the yard. Evenings in the small town had no nightlife. Everyone went home after work. Very few people wandered the streets. Even the small vendors were scarce. I rode aimlessly. I didn't even know where Emma Frost lived. She'd never said, I'd never asked. It was like I knew nothing about her at all. But fate is a strange thing. As if from the first time she came looking for me, we could always find each other easily. Years later, Emma Frost said this was salvation. Salvation that heaven had given her. "You dare talk to me about school again? I'll beat you to death. Your father's doing this for your own good. What does a girl need school for? What's the point of studying? In the end you'll just find someone to marry anyway, right? Getting into the electronics factory is hard. Your father begged and pleaded, spent so much effort to get them to make an exception and change the birth date on your ID. Your father's taken them out to eat so many times now. Spent hundreds of dollars. You better behave and stop giving your father trouble. You little mongrel still daring to shake your head. Just like your dead mother. All worthless trash. Today I'll break that worthless spine of yours." A middle-aged man holding a stick beat Emma Frost savagely. The woman beside him had plenty to say, but made no move to stop the man. And Emma Frost? She stood there numb, letting them beat her. Frozen like a soulless shell. Didn't even know to run. In the dilapidated building, occasionally someone stood in the dark corners watching, just peeking out, but everyone was paralyzed. No one shouted out, or came down to intervene. The whole street echoed only with the man's curses. The sound of the stick hitting her body again and again. I gripped the handlebars tight, twisted the throttle full blast to make the engine roar as loud as possible. Eyes fierce as I charged toward the man. Emma Frost turned to look at me in a daze. Hesitated for a moment, then tears poured down like rain. The woman pulled the man aside, cursing me as a psycho. I got off the bike, grabbed a thick stick, and without thinking swung it straight at him. "You little bastard, looking for death?" The man grabbed a stick and fought back. The woman tried to stop us while cursing me for being ruthless. I was more agile than that old man. After a while he was losing badly. The woman went from cursing to wailing, screaming, "Murder! Someone call the police." The entire time Emma Frost just stood there frozen, like someone in shock. At dawn we were taken to the police station. The small town police station only had 2 or 3 officers. One young cop, yawning, asked me why I'd gotten into a fight. I said he smashed up my house. The cop lazily took notes, then asked the man why he smashed my house. The man clutched his bleeding head, looked at me with hateful eyes. "This mongrel seduced my daughter. My daughter's only in 7th grade and this dog violated her. I'd be right to beat him to death." Good God, what kind of father was this? To lighten his own guilt. He'd even slandered his own daughter's reputation without a second thought. The cops looked at me with puzzled expressions. "Well, why are you interfering with someone else's daughter?" Emma Frost sat on the metal bench in the station hall. Harsh white light shining directly overhead. No visible wounds on her face. But her whole body kept trembling. Those sticks had all hit her body. She was in so much pain. The woman pretended to sit beside her, but kept pressing her hand on Emma's arm to keep her from talking. Her peripheral vision constantly drifting toward me. Everyone knew. Emma Frost's words were crucial. Fighting meant an administrative fine. Clearly her parents didn't want to pay that money. Wanted to push the responsibility onto me. I had no way to make money. A few $100s was enough for Emma Frost and me to live on for a month. If this were the old me, I'd argue to the bitter end. No matter how unreasonable, I wouldn't let this money fall on my head. But today, looking at Emma Frost, I couldn't find the words. Because of this few $100s, that man would probably beat her to death. I gritted my teeth and said. Emma Frost suddenly stood up, tears streaming down her face as she looked at the officer. He wasn't interfering with me. My father beats me all the time. He felt sorry for me and let me stay with him. He and I have no relationship at all." The woman shot up, delivered a savage slap. "You crazy girl. Who told you to talk nonsense?" Emma Frost collapsed to her knees, face deathly pale, the slap mark on her face vivid and horrifying. But her eyes still stubbornly met the officer's. "If you don't believe me, I'll show you." Moving so fast the woman couldn't bend down to stop her. She yanked up her shirt. On her skeletal frame were bruises in shades of purple and red, crisscrossing everywhere. "Heartbreaking," Emma Frost said. This was the first time in over 10 years she'd fought back. Even though she failed, the officers grew very calm. Having been yawning moments before, now they were all wide awake. The man's face changed lightning fast, swept away his earlier stubbornness. Began sobbing pathetically. "Officer, I didn't want to hit her. She's my only daughter. But she won't study. All day just thinking about hanging around with thugs. I'm worried too." The woman got worked up too. Plopped down on the floor crying to heaven. What parents don't hit their kids? Spare the rod, spoil the child. Kids don't know better, they won't listen. When we walked out of the police station, it was past 4 in the morning. After the Frosts sobbed for a while, the police issued a $200 fine, paid the money and let us leave. The Frosts bowed and nodded before the officers, promising over and over they'd educate Emma Frost properly. Wouldn't hit her anymore. The officers gave a few more warnings. I said nothing, just kept looking at Emma Frost. From the moment the police said hitting kids should be done in moderation, the light had already left her eyes. Her whole body like a living corpse, dragged away step by the man, until their silhouettes grew farther and farther away. The interrogating officer handed me a cigarette. "Young man, I advise you not to get involved in their family affairs. This family is complicated. You can't handle it." That's when I learned that day Emma Frost begged me to save her. It wasn't because of those mean girls at school. The police said they knew about her domestic abuse situation too. Even in the slums not everyone was bad. Someone heard the sound of sticks in the middle of the night and couldn't take it anymore, so they called the police. But when police arrived at their house the stick was gone. The child was sleeping, and the couple threw a crying tantrum. Even though they were police, they weren't omnipotent. Domestic violence had strict legal standards. The wounds on Emma Frost's body, though terrifying, if actually examined at the hospital, might not even meet the standard for minor injury. At the police station her parents would stay quiet. But once home, who knew if that conscienceless couple would get even worse? Some people are born into hell. They can't save themselves. And others can't save them either. I saw Emma Frost again half a month later. This time I actively sought her out. I cornered her at the gates of Jefferson High. She wore a face mask, her whole body moving forward in a daze. The motorcycle stopped in front of her. She finally looked up at me. "Get on." I thought she'd climb on quickly like before. But she didn't. She looked at me and shook her head, both eyes dead and empty. Didn't say a word. We faced off for several minutes. She wouldn't give in. I really couldn't wait anymore. I got off the bike and lifted her onto the back in one motion. Not even half a month had passed, and she'd gotten even thinner. I brought Emma Frost home. On the table was a plate of steamed buns. I asked if she was hungry. She didn't answer. I threw them in a pan to reheat, then pushed them in front of her. "Eat. Once you're full, we'll talk." Emma Frost still wouldn't take off her mask. She stared at the buns, tears falling drop by drop. Finally buried her face on the table and sobbed. "Don't look for me anymore. I'm unlucky. Anyone close to me will have bad fortune. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have come to you. No one can save me at all. Saving me will only hurt you." I didn't know how to comfort people. Living alone had become habit. No matter how sad I got, I'd just die slowly from suppressing it. It had been so long since I'd felt these complex emotions. I pulled a chair over beside Emma Frost, gently patted her back. After patting for a long time she finally quieted. Began telling me about her past. Emma Frost's childhood was tragic. Beaten constantly from small to grown. The wounds on her body would heal only to be beaten again. Being beaten was the main melody of her 10+ years of life. When she was little, she didn't even know why she was being beaten. She said maybe it was because her mother was beaten. So she got beaten too. Emma Frost's father was a thug. In his youth he followed some gang boss as muscle. Had no other skills. Only knew how to beat people. Following the boss wasn't easy. Didn't make much money. Took plenty of beatings for making mistakes too. Emma Frost's mother was a girl who worked at a hair salon. Poor family, so she entered society early. Legitimate work didn't pay, so she went to work at the salon. When a pair like that met, there wasn't much good to say. A thug going to get his hair washed. Met a pretty girl at the salon. After going back and forth a few times they developed feelings. Spent a few $1,000s to buy out the girl's contract. After that things spiraled out of control. The two didn't even need a wedding before rushing to get their marriage certificate. Life after marriage wasn't good at all. Originally married on impulse. After marriage realized nothing was compatible. The two started fighting constantly. Every time he got beaten outside. Emma Frost's father had nowhere to vent. So he vented it all on Emma Frost's mother. Emma Frost's mother went from resisting to accepting. It took exactly 10 months of pregnancy. The day Emma Frost was born. Her father was provoked by someone. Came home drunk and beat her mother. A mother about to give birth had very little strength left. But still managed to deliver her. After that, her nightmare began. Other kids grew up on mother's milk. Without mother's milk at least they had formula. But Emma Frost was different, she grew up on rice water. That's why she'd been skinny since childhood. Her health never good. When she got a bit older the anti-crime crackdown began. Many criminal organizations were punished and dealt with. Her father became an unemployed vagrant. In days without money, beating his woman became the only way he could display his masculine dignity. When Emma Frost was 2 or 3, crying out in fear, he'd grab her tiny body and throw her outside. Time after time, Emma Frost stopped crying. Her mother told Emma Frost not to cry next time. To find somewhere to hide. Or she'd get thrown to death. After that, no matter how savagely her father beat her mother, Emma Frost wouldn't cry anymore. Hiding behind the old kitchen corner, covering her mouth, tears falling. But not daring to make a sound. Emma Frost's mother died when Emma was 8. Her father got drunk. His hand a bit too heavy. One punch hit her mother's temple. Killed her on the spot. Afraid of suspicion, he spent a little money to bury her mother. Didn't even hold a funeral. That's how small towns were. Everyone was poor. Not very educated either. Following the philosophy that more trouble is worse than less. Even if they knew there was a secret. No one bothered to ask questions. After all, they still had to live in this town their whole lives. No one wanted to provoke a madman. After Emma Frost's mother died, this venting fell on her. School required tuition. School required uniforms. Food required living expenses. For all these things she'd get beaten. As long as she opened her mouth she'd get beaten. Gradually, Emma Frost became more and more silent. Didn't like to talk and didn't dare to talk. But her silence didn't improve her life. It got even worse. At home her father beat her. School wasn't her refuge either. Those students all knew how to read faces. Saw holes in her clothes. And mocked her as a beggar. Unwashed hair. And her deskmate would spread rumors everywhere that she stank. When someone in class lost something, everyone would stare pointedly at her. Emma Frost in those days struggled to survive day by day. She kept hoping that someday she could study hard. Get into a good school. Leave this place. This was her motivation to keep going. But heaven was always cruel to her. Her father remarried. The stepmother was a terrifying woman. Always speaking reasonably on the surface. But secretly inciting Emma Frost's father to beat her. Emma Frost said her stepmother always wanted a child. But her father had no money and couldn't afford to raise one. So the stepmother always wanted Emma Frost dead. She thought as long as Emma Frost died, she could have her own child. Recently she'd come up with a new plan. Didn't want Emma Frost dead anymore. Wanted Emma Frost to quit school and work to support them. But Emma Frost didn't want that. Studying was her only way out. She didn't want to give up. After enduring countless rounds, of inhuman, cruel torture. She had no choice but to find me. Emma Frost said the day I found her. Her father had smashed her stomach with a brick. She felt like her internal organs were about to explode. If not for me, she probably would have died that day. Emma Frost also said, if she'd died that day it would have been better. But I had appeared. Stay at my place. I'll let you go to school. Emma Frost looked up, staring at me in disbelief, her eyes brimming with tears. This decision wasn't simple for me. I had no income from work. My allowance wasn't much either. But I couldn't bear to save her. Only to push her back. I gently removed Emma Frost's mask. The corner of her mouth had a split. Horrifying. She panicked and covered her mouth, eyes streaming tears, whispering, "Don't look." From that moment, compassion flooded from my chest. I pulled her into a tight embrace. Study hard. Sooner or later you'll get out of here. That day Emma Frost cried for a long time. It was the first time I heard her cry out loud, no longer holding back, crying painfully but freely. Keeping Emma Frost wasn't easy. David Frost had no livelihood now. He'd placed all his hopes on Emma Frost. He'd made a deal with the electronics factory owner. Changed the age on Emma Frost's ID. So Emma Frost could work and earn money. Wait till Emma Frost got a year older. He'd marry her off to the factory owner's idiot son. The electronics factory owner would give David Frost a substantial bride price. To David Frost, Emma Frost continuing school was his burden. Selling her to pay off debts killed two birds with one stone. On the 10th day Emma Frost moved into my place. David Frost came looking with an iron rod. It was daytime, and by chance Emma Frost was at school. These days, waiting for David Frost, I'd been bringing some guys to wait at home every day, just waiting for him to show up at the door. David Frost gambled like a madman, always wanting to strike it rich overnight. So he lived day and night at the casino. The past few days he'd probably been gambling nonstop. So he hadn't noticed Emma Frost wasn't home. Now that his money was gone, he finally remembered selling his daughter. Around 1 in the afternoon, I heard clanging in the yard. He was smashing the door while cursing about bastards. My guys and I exchanged glances, grabbed our sticks and ambushed around the door. David Frost had been drinking. Stumbling as he walked, he smashed my newly installed glass door with his rod, then kicked over my motorcycle, smashing as he went, making a huge racket. The moment he stepped inside, my guys and I rushed him, beat him to a pulp. David Frost screamed bloody murder. I pressed my stick against his throat, told him that even if I killed him today it would be self-defense. Everyone here could testify. Plus I was still a minor. David Frost was drunk but not stupid. He was someone who'd been muscle for others. He knew young guys valued loyalty above all, and old men grew more afraid of death. Don't expect her to make you money anymore. From now on she's staying here. From now on I'll pay her school fees. You don't need to worry about it. But don't you dare come near her. Or next time I'll definitely kill you. David Frost compromised. We'd hit him for real. He was scared of dying. To earn money for Emma Frost's schooling, I finally broke free from dependency. Changed the date on my ID. I'd learned this trick from David Frost. After that I found work fixing motorcycles. Because I liked bikes. I knew a thing or two. The work came naturally. Monthly salary of $4,000. Living frugally was enough for Emma Frost's education. Emma Frost spent very little money. Aside from tuition, basically had no other expenses. They mocked her for not buying clothes. Wearing nothing but her uniform every day. Only one pair of shoes all year. The color already faded. First month's paycheck. I bought Emma Frost a new outfit and a pair of shoes. Emma Frost held the clothes and smiled like a child. It was the first time I saw her smile so beautifully. Like a flower just blooming. Shy yet enchanting. 8th grade. Emma Frost's grades climbed from the bottom of her class to top 50. A complete turnaround. The day she got her ranking, Emma Frost hugged me for the first time. That day I'd just gotten home from fixing bikes, covered in grease, but she didn't hesitate to throw herself into my arms. For the first time I felt joy. Emma Frost's 9th grade birthday. I went to the bakery and ordered a little pig cake. I hope from now on you eat your fill at every meal. Plump and round like this little pig. Happy and safe. In the darkened room. Just one candle lit. The candlelight flickered weakly. I couldn't see Emma Frost's expression clearly across from me. She seemed to be crying again. Thank you. I reached out and ruffled Emma Frost's hair. Always like this. Well-behaved and obedient. Every month I gave her spending money. She'd always save more than half. Either buying me clothes, or buying me protective gear. She rarely spoke. What she said most was, "I don't want to be your burden." Emma Frost's high school entrance exam scores were excellent. She got into a key high school in the county. Tuition a bit higher, plus added boarding fees. Those days Emma Frost grew even quieter. She thought for several days, then came to me. "Ryan, I've been thinking for days. High school is the same wherever you study. As long as I work hard, I can still do well on college entrance exams. I don't have to go to the key school." When she said this, she was squatting beside the bike. I was lying under it fixing it, holding a screwdriver tightening the last bolt, resting my hands on either side catching my breath. Emma Frost pulled out a towel, trying to reach under the bike to wipe my sweat, her eyes full of concern. "Lately the shop's been getting busier. Sometimes I'm working till dawn before getting home." Emma Frost felt the reason I was so busy was to save up tuition for her. Her sensitivity and insecurity tormented her every late night, unconsciously blaming everything on herself. First time facing a problem, she thought of giving up. This was perhaps the common disease of the unloved. Never having felt love, to fight for love they could only keep lowering themselves, hoping through wronging themselves to gain others' approval, to prove they weren't a burden. Emma Frost under the dim light, her big eyes blinking repeatedly. Do you know how different key schools and regular schools are? Key schools have 200 students get into college every year. Regular schools only have a few top students. Other people spend money trying hard to get their kids into key schools. You already got in. Why would you give up so easily? Emma Frost bit her lip, saying nothing. Go to school without worry. I just got a raise. Money's not a problem. The year Emma Frost turned 16, she was in 10th grade. Her school was very strict. Only one break every 2 weeks. On those breaks, I'd ride my motorcycle to the county to pick her up. Waiting outside school, I could always spot Emma Frost at first glance. Not because my eyesight was good, but because she was so plain. Among the crowd of girls dressed colorfully, she wore her worn uniform, alone dragging her suitcase, walking by herself. I'd bought her new clothes more than once, but she never wore them. She said she was different from other students. She had no time to care about her appearance, no means to dress up brightly. This uniform could remind her every day that nothing today came easy. She should pour all her energy into studying. After several times like this, I let her be. I'd get off the bike to meet her, and seeing me arrive, her eyes would light up. Without hesitation she'd drag her suitcase running toward me, waving and calling my name. I thought I was happy, living alone through years of loneliness, thinking I'd be lonely forever. But in the end someone had burst into my life. Though a bit harder than before, having someone to walk with was wonderful, made it joyfully acceptable. After starting high school, Emma Frost's grades kept improving. She made it into the top 10 of her class, which meant if nothing unexpected happened, in a year, she could get into an excellent university. One weekend Emma Frost had a long break. I happened to have time off too. Emma Frost and I sat on the balcony in the sun. "Ryan, you've never told me why you live alone." I wanted to dodge the subject, but Emma Frost was persistent. She held my hand, looking at me gently. "It's not fair. You know all my struggles, but I know nothing about you." The sunlight was beautiful, falling through the glass onto Emma Frost, highlighting her quiet radiance. In this world, if there was one person I couldn't bear to deceive, it would surely be Emma Frost. Emma Frost and I were different. I'd never met my parents. I was an orphan. They gave birth to me, then abandoned me. Life at the small-town orphanage wasn't good. Being a welfare facility, with no financial support, even eating our fill was difficult. Starving one meal, stuffed the next. One outfit shared by a dozen kids taking turns. Just barely surviving day to day. I was lucky. At 4 I was adopted by a grandmother. Her children died in an accident. Her husband also died of illness. She feared loneliness. So she adopted me. Grandma was very good to me. She was a retired teacher. Educated, and after retirement had a small pension. My life gradually improved. Only her health wasn't good. Every 3 days she had to go to the hospital. Especially after I turned 10, when she was hospitalized. Each stay grew longer. Night after night she'd look at me and cry. Worried that after she died I'd be sent back to the orphanage. Grandma said when she first saw me at the orphanage. I wore a baggy oversized t-shirt. Holes both front and back. The hem indescribably filthy. Because I was often hungry. Skinny as skin and bones. But my eyes looked at her so hopefully. Though just a 4-year-old child, I still knew that leaving that place might mean salvation. So I desperately hoped someone would take me away. Not knowing how to express it, I could only look at her so pitifully it broke her heart. Her heart ached beyond words. For my sake Grandma tried so hard to get better. Many times she seemed beyond help. But she survived through sheer will. Grandma said, "Little Ryan, Grandma must hold on until you're an adult. Before I can leave in peace." I believed her. Grandma was my everything. How could I not believe what she said? But though her mouth said that, she'd already made a will early on. The house in the county belonged to her work unit. After death it had to be returned. She had another house in town. She had no other relatives. The will listed me as beneficiary, plus a savings account. She'd lived frugally for years. Saved up tens of thousands. She said it should be enough for me to finish college. Tuition was covered, but there was still living expenses. Grandma worried again. Somehow she'd heard that dying in service could get a compensation payment. The school invited the retired teacher back to teach. She pulled out her breathing tube and went back in a wheelchair. Grandma was a very serious person. 1 month of teaching 7 or 8 hours a day. With her shaky body ready to collapse, she still persisted to the end. Until the final day she died peacefully outside the classroom. The school sent people with tens of thousands. Grandma's compensation. The school representative said, Teacher Quinn devoted her life to education. The first time she wanted personal gain. She had to trade her life for it. After Grandma died, the local welfare agency came looking. I was still a minor. They wanted to send me back to the orphanage. I ran away that night. I didn't want to go back there anymore. In town there was the house Grandma left me. Because I was tall, looked mature too, no one paid attention to my age. Only I had no way to go to school anymore. I bought a motorcycle. Every day I'd ride it around outside the school. For school, in my heart I longed. But for the orphanage I resisted. When two things couldn't be balanced, I chose to give up. Meeting Emma Frost. Wasn't it fulfilling a dream for myself? I wasn't someone who played hero. My own life was hard enough. So it was difficult to think about sacrificing anything for others. But life is miraculous. Grandma when I needed saving. Like a ray of light illuminated my life. After many years, I finally became a ray of light. Illuminating Emma Frost. Emma Frost suddenly threw herself into my arms. Buried her face in my shoulder. Rubbed her chin against my shirt. Whispered, Ryan, do you remember at first I said as long as you saved me, I could give you everything? I gently patted her back. Ryan, wait for me. Wait till I take the college entrance exam. I'll leave with you. After graduation I'll marry you. Outside the window came the sound of birds. Chirping noisily but full of life. I tilted my head to look out the window. Saw Grandma smiling and waving at me then walking farther away. The relationship between Emma Frost and me had a subtle shift. Every time she came home, she'd happily throw herself into my arms. Once home she loved to hug me. As the college entrance exam drew closer, Emma Frost told me more than once she'd soon be able to leave with me. Our new life was about to begin. I smiled and stroked her hair. Told her these years I'd saved some money too. When we got to the new place, I'd opened my own bike repair shop. We'd get better and better. I'd even contacted a house seller. Grandma was gone. I was an adult now. Didn't need to tie myself to this place anymore. My life finally had the right to choose. Just when we thought our beautiful life was right before our eyes, David Frost appeared again. He'd lost a massive amount of money. Not only was his money gone, he'd even sold his wife. But it still wasn't enough. He still owed a huge debt. He thought of Emma Frost again. David Frost caused chaos at the school. He went crazy on campus, grabbed Emma Frost by the hair, and slammed her head into the ground again and again, cursing her as a whore's daughter. Heartless and ungrateful just like the whore. Made up stories that she'd married the idiot long ago. Took the bride price, then was disgusted by the idiot and ran. Those high school years. Emma Frost's personality had changed so much. New environment, new friends. No one knew her past. She was a top student too. Everyone was friendly with her. But this friendliness was all surface level. When that surface shattered, the bloodthirsty nature of people still couldn't be faced. After David Frost caused chaos, security dragged him off campus. Emma Frost was left behind. She sat terrified on the ground, watching everyone point and whisper. Even boys who'd seemed kind before cruelly asked her if she'd already slept with the idiot. The man who came to pick you up every day. Is he your sugar daddy? Did you cheat on the idiot with him? Girls she'd barely known suddenly stepped forward, saying they'd long noticed the relationship between Emma Frost and me was abnormal. Always clinging to each other. Obviously a kept woman. Maybe I was keeping Emma Frost. Or Emma Frost and I were scamming the idiot's money together. Emma Frost couldn't fight back. She'd never been good with words. Years of domestic violence had destroyed her dignity long ago. Just a few short years. The self-respect she'd built wasn't solid. With David Frost's appearance it easily crumbled. David Frost was a madman. Dragged out of the building by security, still cursing. Saying Emma Frost's mother was a salon girl. Anyone could have her. Emma Frost probably wasn't even his daughter. He'd raised another man's kid all these years. He was cursed for 8 lifetimes. Cursed Emma Frost to go die. Said Emma Frost was a comet. Ruined his whole life. Such vile, vulgar words. Spoken openly in broad daylight. They showed no mercy scolding Emma Frost. Said all her studying went to waste. Ungrateful. Fickle in love. No matter how much she studied she was worthless trash. When I came to pick up Emma Frost 2 weeks later, the motorcycle stopped outside school. So many people stared at me. I hadn't realized anything was wrong. Just focused on finding Emma Frost. She seemed even thinner. Wearing short sleeves. Carrying a large suitcase. 2 more weeks till the college entrance exam. Made sense she'd be packing up. I smiled as I went to take her suitcase. Seeing me, Emma Frost smiled. She smiled so happily, with an emotion like being liberated. Something wrong? Emma Frost shook her head. Under everyone's gaze, she climbed onto the back seat. Wrapped her arms around me. Pressed her whole face against my back. Ryan, we'll be able to leave soon. That's right, 2 more weeks. After the college entrance exam there's a 2-month break. We'll be leaving soon. Emma Frost said she wanted hot pot. She was normally afraid of spice. But that day she ordered the spiciest broth. Ate until her lips were swollen. I kept pouring her water glass after glass. She said spice was a painful feeling. But it was addictive. She said liking spice was liking to torture herself. She used to think her life was miserable enough. So she never ate spicy food. But eating it today she realized. Self-torture was addictive. That was such a strange thing to say. I didn't understand. But figured she read a lot. Everything she said made sense. So I laughed and said, if you like it, we'll come again. Emma Frost smiled. Neither promising nor refusing. That night when we got home, Emma Frost got out of the shower and crawled into my bed. She always trusted me completely. But I was already 20 years old. I sighed. Stroked her hair, still keeping some distance from her. Emma Frost suddenly spoke. Voice flat. Do you find me disgusting? I shook my head, moved closer to her. How could I find you disgusting? You're the best girl in my heart. We'll be together our whole lives. But I'm not the best girl. My mother was a salon worker. My father's a gambler. A pair like that having a child. How could she be a good girl? I thought Emma Frost was getting anxious about leaving soon. So I pulled her into my arms. Without hesitation. Don't talk nonsense. None of that is your fault. It's all in the past. We'll be able to leave soon. When we get to the new place, we can start over. No one will know about any of that. Our future will be happy. Emma Frost hugged me tighter and tighter. I gently returned the embrace. So I didn't notice at all. Her eyes dead as ash in the darkness. If I'd looked down even once, I might have seen the light had already left her eyes. Sunday afternoon, returning to school. Emma Frost returned to her usual appearance. She wore for the first time the checkered short-sleeve shirt I'd bought her before. Long hair falling over her shoulders. Very clean, very beautiful. Ryan, you've been giving me too much spending money. It's only 2 more weeks. There's enough on the meal card. Keep this. Use it for tuition someday. I naturally took the card and dropped her off as usual. The whole way Emma Frost held me tight, face pressed against my back. The weather was hot, but I vaguely felt my back grow damp for a moment. I drove for over half an hour to reach the school. Many students were bringing luggage back to school. Usually at this time Emma Frost was always eager to get back. She had to share snacks with her roommates. Cold food wasn't good, so she always walked especially fast. But today she seemed unhurried, lingering as she looked at me, throwing herself into my arms several times, saying she was so eager to leave this place quickly. I rubbed her back soothingly. Soon, she looked up at me like a child and asked, "Ryan, can you kiss me?" I looked around. Everyone was doing their own thing. Like no one was paying attention to us. Under Emma Frost's expectant gaze, I shyly leaned down and kissed her forehead. Emma Frost cried. She said this was the first time I'd kissed her. I laughed and said, "Silly girl. There'll be countless more times." She kept murmuring, "Countless times." Slowly walking toward the school, I watched her retreating figure. Smiled helplessly. "Silly girl. We have so many days ahead. Of course there'll be countless times." 2 weeks passed quickly. We'd found a suitable buyer for the house. The price was reasonable. Furniture and appliances weren't convenient to take, so we gave them all to the buyer. The college entrance exam arrived. Emma Frost's test site was assigned to her school. To help her relax, every day I'd drop her off early, pick her up in the afternoon. The first 2 days she performed steadily. Day 3 only had a morning exam. I'd planned to pick her up at 10 on my motorcycle, but the repair shop suddenly had an emergency. I had no choice but to fix it as fast as possible, trying to pick her up as early as I could. Before fixing the bike, I texted Emma Frost. Said there was a small emergency. Wait for me a bit. This bike had some engine trouble. I lay under it working frantically. Because I was rushing, my speed was much faster than usual. Soon I was drenched in sweat. Nearly noon. At least another half hour till I'd be done. I grew more and more anxious. But there was no other way. At 12:40 I finally finished. No time to change clothes. I jumped on the motorcycle and rushed toward the school. When I arrived it was past 1. I thought the school gate would be empty. But unexpectedly it was packed with people. People kept pushing into the school. Others kept urging, "Hurry up. Too late and you won't be able to see." I parked and searched everywhere. Where was Emma Frost? My phone rang loudly. I pulled out my phone. It was a text from Emma Frost. "Ryan, I really tried so hard to leave with you for so long. I thought I could finally escape. But I can't. I can run for a few years. But I can't run for a lifetime. As long as his blood runs through me, he'll never let me go." I'd thought it all through. I'd registered for a school in the South, where it's spring year-round. We'd settle there, start a new life. I'd thought it all through. But why won't they leave me alone? "Ryan, leave this place. Go to the new place and start your new life. I can't go with you anymore. I'm filthy. I shouldn't drag you down. If we meet again in the next life, I'll be clean." People surged around me like a tide, noisy and chaotic, but I felt trapped in a glass box, hearing nothing. I couldn't breathe. Then like a madman I pushed through the crowd running into the school. Dozens of yards from the lecture hall was packed tight with people. But not one person stepped forward. Emma Frost wore the checkered short-sleeve shirt. Standing alone on top of the lecture hall. She kept looking up at the sky. I couldn't see her expression. Emma Frost was afraid of heights. Never dared stand in high places. The lecture hall wasn't low. 8 stories, she jumped without thinking. She was so small and thin. Falling would hurt so much, wouldn't it? Look, they screamed and backed away. Afraid she'd fall and hit them. Only I pushed through the crowd running toward her. We'd promised to be together our whole lives. How could she leave me behind? Emma Frost crashed hard into me. We both fell to the ground together. In that instant heaven and earth fell silent. The whole world grew quiet. You silly little girl. Why don't you cry out in pain anymore? Emma Frost smiled. Crying out in pain means getting beaten to death. Silly girl, you won't. From now on when it hurts tell me. I won't hit you. I'll only love you. End of main story. Ryan reminds you. Next is the side story from Emma Frost's perspective. The first time I met Ryan was when he'd chased away a girl who was bullying someone. He obviously didn't look like a good person either. But I felt he was good. And the truth proved he really wasn't bad. Those years beside Ryan were the most beautiful time of my life. He was clumsy but tried so hard to love me, carefully protecting my sensitive, insecure feelings. He was someone who needed saving himself, but still became a light first, warming me. I used to dream about our future. Years later, we'd be in a strange city, starting a new life, getting married, having children, having a lovely child. Ryan would love our child so much. He'd be a wonderful father, giving me and our child a warm home. This was the dream I kept dreaming for 5 years after escaping that house. But dreams have to end. And now it was time to wake up. David Frost appeared. I'd imagined his appearance countless times. If it were many, many years later, when I was a bit older, had more choices, could I face him calmly? He appeared so early. Appeared when I had no choices. No strength to face him. The humiliating words like needles stabbed straight into my heart. I was still too weak to withstand a single blow. I thought about how these curses someday would also fall on Ryan, fall on our child, and I had no strength left to continue. David Frost beat me savagely. My head slammed into the ground with loud thuds. I even hoped he'd just beat me to death. I was truly exhausted. But every time he didn't kill me, because I was still useful. He'd taken the bride price from the factory owner, waiting to hand me over to the idiot. Take the money and enjoy life. Venomous words kept pouring into my ears. Emma Frost, as long as you're alive, you could run to the ends of the earth and I'd find you. You can only marry that idiot. I'm drowning in debt. Can't pay means death. You won't let me live comfortably. I'll kill that pretty boy first. Either way it's death. Dragging a few down with me isn't a loss. Heard that to let you go to school. That pretty boy works from dawn to dusk. Emma Frost. Can you bear to let him die before you? You and your mother are both demons who destroy people. Can't bear it? Just go die yourself. Why drag others down? Since boarding school, Ryan gave me $1,000 spending money each month. But he lived so frugally himself, splitting every dollar in half. I'd wanted to save some money, so later when we got to the new city, we could live better. Now there was no need. I deposited all the money on the card. A little over $20,000, not much. I owed Ryan too much. Couldn't repay it this life. I'd repay it in the next. After the college entrance exam, David Frost brought the idiot to school. The idiot was filthy, drooling as he pointed at me calling, "Wife." All my classmates watched. David Frost shoved him toward me. "Idiot. You found yourself a wife, hurry up and take her home before she runs away again. See where you'll find such a pretty wife." Though the idiot was stupid, he still understood words. He grabbed me tight, hugged me till my bones ached, puckered his lips kissing my face. My classmates burst out laughing. The idiot laughed with them. In that moment my heart died. Taking advantage of David Frost's distraction, I shoved the idiot away and ran upstairs. I took the emergency exit. Quickly made it to the roof. The sun blazed bright, hanging high overhead. I took a deep breath. Never felt so peaceful in body and mind. I stretched both arms embracing the sun. My body falling from the roof. Ryan in his dirty work clothes ran out from the crowd. His face still streaked with engine oil. But in my eyes he was the most beautiful person in this world. Everyone backed away. Only he ran forward. I jumped from the roof. Jumped into the arms of the one I loved. I'd said at the start I'd sacrifice everything. But in the end he sacrificed everything first. Ryan was a fool. He believed me when I said I'd always stay with him. Seeing me about to go, he rushed to go with me. With the face of a bad boy. But the kindest heart in this world. Ryan, this life we suffered too much. Next life we must be happy. Ryan held me tight. I kept coughing up fresh blood. He was still so gentle. Whispered. Okay, from now our flesh and blood are bound together. Never to be separated for eternity. The end.